evening. Just wanted to come back and share a little bit of something that I did a few months ago, just like some other recent uploads. I kind of got a little bit held up, and I did this back in March and April. I want to finally talk about it. So, I'm going to talk about what I did this year for March Madness. Now, if you don't know, it is a college basketball tournament, single elimination, which, as a tournament organizer, not my preference, but can't deny it's exciting. It started with 8 teams, then they upped it to 16 teams, 32, 64. Now they have it with some play-in matches to have 68, which there's like 300 something colleges that play, so there's no shortage of teams here. There's a lot of teams. It was called March Madness because it was so unpredictable. I've been pretty close to this. Been following it for a long time, over half my life, and it's really, really fun. But it is really hard to digest all the games. People usually just follow along with making a bracket. Now, when you make a bracket, you're predicting who's going to win. If you haven't heard the odds of this, like being able to choose every single game correctly, it is very, very high. Technically, each team has a 50-50 shot. Yeah, some teams are better, but technically, either win or lose, half and half. If you factor in that half and half chance for the 67 games, because you have 68 teams, the formula is n-1, so you have 67 games. That is over 1 in 100 quadrillion. I mean, you could win the lottery 100 times, probably way more than that. Like, that is an insane number. Now, fear not. Sometimes it's not that bad, because usually you don't have to do the 4 play-in games. Usually they have some of the auto bids with the smaller conferences, 2 16 seed games. They do the teams that didn't win their conference, usually like 11 or 12 seed, and they have some of those play. And usually, like I think it was Xavier and someone else. I know UNC was there. Like, you didn't have to choose the play-in game. So instead of it being 100 quadrillion, it's actually more like 1 in 9 quadrillion. So fear not, it's not that bad. It's still crazy though. Being able to perfectly choose every single little thing is so improbable. I wanted to show some history. I included it on this slide and the next one as well. Yes, it's 50-50, but it's kind of not 50-50. It's kind of, the better team is going to win most of the time. So that's just kind of how it goes. We can look at the history. It's very, very rare for a 16 seed to beat a 1 seed. As a top 4 team overall compared to a bottom, 60 something, maybe like 65 to 68. And sometimes it's even lower because there's some better teams than the teams that win the really, really small conference. So these are not that good of teams. Usually small colleges that don't have a huge emphasis. It's happened a couple times though, more recently, because college basketball has grown so much. You can get 5 good players, you can get 3 good players, and you can become a threat because of, it's hard with like baseball, basketball, soccer, or not basketball, baseball, football, soccer, like some of the other sports you need more players to excel in. Basketball, you can be a small school and still be pretty good. But of course, better programs, you have stuff about like NIL deals, which I'll probably talk about some of the college logistics in another video. But the better teams are better for a reason. They had a better regular season, and they're favored. Now, it's not always going to be based on these odds. This is just a history since like the 80s when they switched to having 64 teams. So you're not like, oh, we have no chance of winning, guys. Look at the history. You can always win, but this is just based on data from what we've seen. Now, on paper, it's a 50-50 chance. It's actually closer. I did the math. It was around 75.9% when I added the wins and losses. There was one exception from this game down here, but it was actually right around 75%. Now it's very skewed. You have pretty much 50-50 for 8 and 9, and then usually you're not super surprised by a 10 over 7, 11 over 6. 5 or 12, 12 over 5 starts to get a little bit more, but usually that's fine. Once you get to these last few, especially 215 and 116, very rare. So it kind of evens out. Like, yeah, these are pretty much coin flips. These are very, very rare. For example, I'm going to try and predict a coin 50-50 multiple times in a row. Let's see if I can do it. Coin toss. All right, heads. Okay, 1. Heads again. Okay, 2. Tails. I'm out on the third game. That's how it goes. Now, if I went to, let's say, dice roll, let's do like a d20. I'll do it again. Excuse me. I'll get this one out of here. Let's say I don't want to roll a 1. For like a 1 seed, it's about a 1 in 20 chance. So I'm going to roll, and I hope I don't get a 1. Okay, I did it. Now, usually there's 4 of those matches, so I'm going to do it again. I don't want a 5. How about that? Okay. I don't want a 13. Okay, and I don't want a 20. Okay, so guessing for the 1 versus 16, pretty simple, not so bad. Let's say for the, let's say this is like 3 versus 14. Let's see if I can get it. Actually, it might be something closer to like this. I'll say it's like a 1 out of 8, where I don't want to get the 1 number. So I don't want to get a 3. And there we go. It's still not possible. Let's do it 3 more times. I don't want a 7. I don't want a 2. I don't want an 8. Okay, so I won the other 3. But still, even if it's not supposed to happen, it can still happen. That's kind of funny. But anyway, and we can keep going. Let's say a 6-11 game is like a 4-sided die, something like that. Overall, this would probably be the closest for them all together. They're independent games. It's not like you're supposed to have that, but the higher seed will win about 75% of the time for round 1. Now, round 2 gets a little bit more complicated, but at least for round 1, which is over half the games, it's 32 out of the 63 not playing games. So, if you have the 75% chance, 25% being an upset, that is 1 in 500,000 instead of 1 in 4 billion. That's already much better. Sometimes you see people, that sounds really low, but I mean, usually there's like 20 million, if not more, people that choose to make a bracket, and you see it go into the second round sometimes. Like 1 in 500,000, the same as like 40 and 20 million. It's I would say it's pretty accurate for this being the round 1, but it's going to get even harder as the teams get better. There's fewer and fewer upsets, or fewer and fewer lower probabilities of upsets. Like, it's going to be increased. There's upsets that happen all the time. There's less games, so you don't see as many potential for upsets, but each upset is more likely. You have a 1 versus 8 instead of a 1 versus 16 on paper. So I think it's going to be, I did some calculations based on how you get pretty much coin flips the closer you get. I think it's about 65% of the time the higher seed will win. That's what I'm thinking. Could be wrong. I think it's about 65. You go down from 75 to 65. It's still better than a coin flip usually. Maybe you go down to 60 or 55. But I was going to say 65. So instead of 1 in 9 quadrillion, I think it's, or yeah, 1 in 9 quadrillion. I think it's closer to 1 in 1 trillion, which is a lot less, but still a ton. So we're probably never going to see it in our lifetime. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try. I'm going to give a little bit of background of how I got into this. I started filling out March brackets since I was in 3rd grade. My dad got me into sports. I was big on baseball, basketball, stuff like that. And usually just did it with the family, and I just really got an interest in like how it worked. I remember doing baseball tournaments when I was younger, and sports, and more recently esports have been, something I really focused on, something I really enjoy, seeing how things will play out. Now last year I noticed that ESPN allows you to do 25 per account. I was like, that's pretty cool. I did some for fun brackets with like mascots, and I did like distance from my city and stuff like that. But I was like, is it possible to put in more effort to try and get the best bracket? Because sometimes they stop giving away the $1 billion perfect bracket type of thing. I think they're worried about bots and stuff. But you can still get like 100,000 or like some really big prize if you get the best bracket. So I was like, I want to get a perfect one, but I also want to try and get the best one. So I made over 1,000 March Madness brackets for this year. Sounds like a lot. I'll go into what I was thinking. Now, I cannot make 1 trillion brackets. I don't think there's ever going to be 1 trillion brackets made. Less than 100 million get made every year. Usually it's like 23 million for ESPN. To be generous for other ones like CBS and stuff like that, let's just say less than 100 million. We're not going to get to a trillion anytime soon. And that's with the entire world. I am one person. I cannot do that many. But I can still do more than what the average person does. I can get multiple accounts. I have some strategies of how to guarantee certain parts of it. I noticed that there's 4 regions pretty much, where you have 8 games, 16 teams for all 4 of them. 8 games means, let's say 8 coin flips. Not always, but on paper. So there's 256 combinations. Now, you can't figure out the permutations for all of them. That's 32 games. Again, that's going to be, I think, 4 billion? That's going to be very unlikely still. But you can guarantee parts of it and make educated guesses for the rest of them. So that's what I did. I used the coin flip permutations. I made a little Excel sheet, and I made, I pretty much copied it because typing it out would be hard to keep track of. But I was able to list out all of these and just snake my way down, go through these accounts, do them for all 4 of the sections, and then fill in these. And that would give me 256 for each of them. Times 4 gives me 1,024. Then I can do my personal bracket, whatever I think. And then that's going to get me to 1,025, which is 41 accounts with 25 brackets each. So technically a little bit more than 1,000, but pretty close to it. I think that was a fair number to land on. Now, it's called Selection Sunday when they match up all the teams, and then it starts around noon Eastern time on that Thursday. So you have less than 100 hours, like 90 something. And I have a job, I have a family. I can't just sit down for 90 plus hours making brackets all the time. I also need to sleep. That's important too. So I'm not able to do that much. A bracket can take you 10 seconds if you're spamming it and doing all like the manual or doing the random picks. Usually it's going to take you a little bit more. Some people take like 5 minutes, or they're like factoring things in, being careful. But if I'm going fast, I'm trying to have like weighted random picks, which I'll explain a little bit later. And then you have to change accounts. You had to added to the group so I can keep them all organized. It takes about a minute per bracket if I'm thinking about that, and that's going to be over 17 hours of making brackets. So it was a bit of a slog. Um, and again, I use these permutations for at least of round one, because later on it's going to be tough, but I want to see how far I can get. You have to start with round one before you get to round two. So I tried my best trying to get trying to get it as perfect as possible. Now, I used the Fastball Productions Twitter page and kind of showed my progress. So, after the first two games, I had about a third of the brackets left. Not too good. Creighton versus Louisville. Louisville was, people thought they were really underseeded. I was like, yo, they're gonna beat, I forget, what was it, Florida? No, it was Auburn. I was like, oh, they're gonna beat the one seed afterwards. No, they lost the first game. I had Wisconsin winning the whole thing in my personal brackets, so I was happy about that. Houston won. I lost 45 brackets for a 1 over 16, which seems kind of silly. I lost another few with this. McNeese over Clemson meant I had only 46 left. Then another one, then another one. I keep losing them over and over. And after the 11th game, I was already out. I spent like 15, 17 hours on these brackets. And I remember I was streaming at the time. I might pull up the clip later. But I had 4 brackets left, and all of them had Yale beating A&M, which is like, what are the odds of that? Yale was like a much lower seed. And so before I even got halfway through the first round, not even through the first day, all 1,025 of mine are out. It's like, dang, that sucked. Like that, I only, on my 11th game, I had a 10-game streak across 1,000 of them. And then overall, I didn't even do that good. My personal one, I didn't even get half of the possible points. Almost got almost below a third. Picking Wisconsin to win, not very good. But that's how it goes. Sometimes you take a risk. Sometimes it's nice and easy. I remember one of my first brackets I ever did. I picked all 1 seeds going to the Final Four, and that was one of the, I think that was like 2008 or something. That was one of the few years where it actually happened. This was the other year. So going with the 1 seeds was a nice safe bet. Now, I got each of the regions correct at least once. If you look at the results, if we had, I did heads for the higher seed winning, tails for the lower seed winning. Heads, tails, heads, 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 tails, heads. So only 2 upsets here. I think there was only 1, I guess 2 technically. No, only 1 here with Baylor. Here, there's only 1. And there was 3 down here. So the permutations were not that unusual. Most of the time, there were no upsets. The lowest upset was these 2 12 seeds beating a 5. Nothing on the bottom quarter of matches with the 13 through 16 seeds advanced at all. I had 1/8 guaranteed of my brackets having each of them to win. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm losing 1/8 of my brackets every single time. Because if the ones that I had already wrong and they got it wrong again, so what? At least my perfect ones are staying in. So it's not like I'm going to lose them all guaranteed. But, I mean, just like the first one, I had a lot of them choosing Louisville, a lot of them choosing Creighton. I lose half my brackets either way usually. And that's just kind of how it goes. It's sad to see all of them immediately obsolete, at least if I'm going for perfect bracket. If I'm going for best bracket, there's still a chance. But losing so many of them so quickly was like boom, boom, boom. and I just hedged my bets a little bit too much. Got a little bit too cute with it. I didn't need to have Alabama State um, winning 100 something times out of 1,000. Like, I guess it was what, 1,020, 1,000 or 130 ish, something like that. Like, I probably didn't need to have them winning that much. Realistically, I can chill out. I think 126. No, okay, it's a little bit more than that, but around 130 times. I did not have to have them winning that much. If I think I was so afraid of getting one of those big upsets wrong that I hedged my bets too much. Sometimes you just gotta stick with it, play the odds, guess a couple upsets here and there, but you can't hedge your bets too much. And this is kind of how it had a perfect bracket tracker. I screenshotted these while it was happening. It's hard to see now because it was updated. But after some big ones, I was out around here, which is not bad. Less than 200K, or I guess 2,000. I'm in this range. This is when Yale lost and all my brackets were out. Not that bad. My best bracket was, let's see, it's in the groups. My best bracket was 1620 out of 1920. You can see the best one in the entire ESPN thing was 1880. So not that close. A lot of them did fine, but it was just like, it was a bit annoying that I did all that work and not much to show for it. So unfortunate, but that's how it goes. But that was not all I did. If you don't know, there's not only men's basketball that happens in March. There's also women's basketball. I made 2,000. I lied. I did 2,000 March Madness brackets. 1,025 more for women's college basketball. Gotta love it. Support women's sports, everyone. So, I used the same accounts, just switched them over, went to women's instead. Now, usually there are fewer upsets for women's. It's just kind of how it goes. There's less teams that are as good. You see a lot of crazy box scores with like 100-40 in like round 2 or something. There's less teams that are as good. There's more potency of talent. I remember UConn went on that like 4 in a row streak, and like the good teams are good, the bad teams are not so good. It's getting better. Women's sports are growing a little bit. People are paying attention, but there's just less teams that are going to have that upset factor. It's just kind of how it goes. Hopefully it'll catch up a little bit, because men's upset factor is going crazy. And it has for the entire quarter century that I've been paying attention to it. It's been really interesting to watch the development of these smaller schools. Hopefully women's sports gets more support and you see it more often. But in general, fewer upsets. I think there were no 11 to 16 seeded teams that got an upset round 1. I don't believe so. I think the lowest was a 10. You had Oregon as a 10. South Dakota State as a 10. Liberty got close, but not quite. A few 9s, yeah. The 10 seed was the lowest, and that's a borderline coin flip at that point. So, not as frequent. Now, because of this, I didn't really follow the permutations like I did. Now, I didn't have the benefit of hindsight by looking at what I did for men's, because I had to make them really quickly. I had like an extra day, because the women starts on Friday, I believe. Yeah, the women starts on Friday, because I did this March 20th, March 21st. Yeah, starts on the Friday, then it goes to the Monday. So for the round one or round two. I kind of just spammed them. You can do, like I was saying earlier, you can do multiple different options. You can either do chalk, which is just choosing the top seed every time, kind of boring, but mathematically more favored. You can do a weighted randomization. You can do pure randomization. You can have recommended picks. And I mixed and matched those a lot. Maybe I chose a few, then chalked the rest. Maybe I did a weighted randomization, maybe tweaked a couple things to like, oh, I need another USC win. Oh, I need another Cal win. Stuff like that. And maybe use picks. I did a couple purely random ones. I didn't do nearly as many as I did for men's with the randomness. But wanted to mix it up. You don't want to choose the same stuff over and over. You want to get a little bit of diverse palette going. But I was able to do it faster. It took about 30 seconds. There's also less entries for women's. I think there was like fewer than 5 million, I'm pretty sure, or something around there, compared to like 23 million. So my chances were better. Still not great, but they were better. I used, oops, spoiled it if you didn't see. But it didn't work out so great either. But that's how it goes. I had, here it is. So one of mine, again, the max is 1920. I had an 1800 and a few other ones that were close. Not too bad. The highest someone had was 1910. Someone got really, really close for women's. So women's has better chances to win. Didn't quite get there, but I had a good run with this. Now, I lied again. I did 4,000 March Madness brackets. There's a second chance after the Sweet 16 for both of them. So I actually did 4,100 brackets. I keep lying, I'm sorry. But in the time between the second round ending and the Sweet 16 beginning, I made 1,025 brackets for each of them again. Now, I use the same account, same amount, 1,025, same general thing, but instead of doing the permutations for the men's, I just kind of went through it as fast as possible. I was going boom, 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 boom. And for this, it's actually not that uncommon for people to get these right all the way. There's only 15 games, which 2 to the power of 15 is 32,768. So I cannot make 32,000. That would be, maybe it's humanly possible. I don't know. It'd be very hard. I think 1,000 was pretty much all I could do. But it's also important to figure out the final score, because it's frequent that people get them all right. Not all the time, but I mean, a million something people still do these second chance brackets. They like to keep doing it, want to earn some money, gives them some stakes along with watching. So people try it out. I think like a million something for both men and women. It's probably a little bit more for men. It's just kind of how it works. But a lot of people try it, and so people get them right. I mean, a 1 out of 32K, like, yeah, you're gonna have a bunch of people that get it right. So getting the perfect final score will set you apart from everyone else. So when my logic was for final score, this is what I was thinking. You can have either an odd number or even number. If you add even plus even, you get an even number. You get even plus odd, you get an odd number. You even plus even, you get an even number. Or did I already say that? I'm getting confused. Odd plus odd and even plus even both give you an even number. So on paper, you have a 2/3 chance of getting an even number. That's what I was thinking. Now, again, not guaranteed, but most of the time I chose some kind of even number. I didn't spend too much time. I did a lot of randomized with weighted stuff, did different scores. I really just tried to spam it. At some point when I'm doing this over and over, changing counts, get really tired. But I was actually able to get a correct bracket. For men's, one of mine got 1280, which is the max you can get for the last 4 rounds. Actually had, this is the leaderboard. For my group, I did have one that was 1280, but I had 128 instead of 153, or I had 153 instead of 128. So I did not win, but it was cool to be up there tied with a bunch of other people. As you can see, there was like 4 million. Like there was a lot of people that did the second chance for men's. So I did pretty good. Got up there pretty high. But that's how it goes. Can't win them all. And for women's, you would think that there's even fewer upsets, so there'd be a really good chance. I didn't get it for women's. I got 1240, which is the max you can get with getting one wrong. I got a bunch of those, but a lot of people got a 1280. Was not me. So it's actually, I had better guesses for men's than women's. So good for me on that. But again, you take out 3/4 of the matches, or games, whatever you want to say. It's going to be pretty simple. But pretty cool that I got at least one right, one perfect bracket. It's just hard though, because sometimes you gotta make sure you're more precise. I think second chances is cool. It's a little bit faster, but it's a little bit less exciting because it's less impossible. I think part of what makes the first few rounds so cool is that it's like the small. You remember the little games, the VCUs, the George Masons, the Loyola, the Oakland, like all these, Mercer. I remember like everyone that's beaten Duke. Lehigh, LSU, like go down the list. And so it's pretty funny seeing the background of that. But I really enjoyed it. We'll see. I think I'm going to try it again next year. I might open it up a little bit, saying like, hey, let's get a group of people, see if we can get that perfect bracket. It's going to take some. I think it's really hard to do all the permutations. And I mentioned that it's a 75% chance. So maybe you do more permutations of the teams, which I tried to do, but I think like choosing a 1 seed to win over, or a 1 seed to lose first round over 100 times out of 1,000, probably too much. You probably gotta not hedge too much. You gotta take the over most of the time, even more than you might to play it safe. Because like, look, if you get it wrong, most people are getting it wrong. You can have 20 brackets that have it, and maybe you still make it. You can't, like, doing 100 instead of 20 is not going to really help your odds that much. But it was fun. I streamed it. Also, the runs I had. So I had for women's, I made it almost to round 2, 27th game. So pretty close. I made it to day 2, almost day 3. For this, I forgot to say it because I was pretty devastated of losing to my wife in our personal group again. We've been dating for, I think we've done 6 or 7. The COVID year threw it off, so I think it was 7 March Madness brackets. Yeah, I think 7, and she's won like 5 of them. And being a tournament organizer, I thought you were good with brackets, and it's like, okay, organizing a bracket versus predicting is different, but okay. I did get this one right though, and for women's, I had a lot of them for a while, but some of them just really went away fast. Like Notre Dame losing got rid of 90 something of mine. It's a lot. And then, yeah, I think that it helps with the games, following along with them, because like how often are you gonna care about all these smaller schools? Like I mean, you have Colorado State, you have Drake, UNC Wilmington had a really good game. McNeese, like these teams that you're not gonna care about very much, but having so many teams be able and people still think that some teams get robbed, like West Virginia, were like they were kind of annoyed that UNC got in. I'm a UNC guys. When my dad went, that's who I root for usually. But you know, then they won the play-in game at least. But like you have to draw the line somewhere. I'm glad that so many teams get the chance of trying their best. You know, it's fun to follow along. I went to Liberty, and that Mississippi State win a few years ago, electric. Caleb Holmesley, shout outs, man. Mayo, Scotty, like all those. It's so fun. I think college sports is electric if you're invested, and this is one of the best examples for it. So I encourage you, even if you've never gotten involved, try a March Madness bracket. You can it literally again it can take you 10 seconds. Probably take you a few minutes if you're going through each matchup, but it can go by pretty fast. Try it out. I did over 4,000 of them. Next year I'm gonna do over 5,000, which is not that much more, but I want to get to that 5,000 milestone, and I want to see. I want to see if I can get to gate. I want to see if I get to day 2 of men's. I want to see if I get to round 2 for women's. I want to do better. I want to get the best possible bracket. I want that prize money. Give it to me, ESPN. So we'll see. If you want to make as many as me, go for it. Let's see who does better. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day.